Okay, well actually it's really funny because I'm from right outside of Boston, and Food Not Bombs started back in Boston, Cambridge and what have you. And when they start, I mean, I didn't even hear about Food Not Bombs until I moved out here, which was in 1988, so that's really kind of strange. But the first time I heard about Food Not Bombs was from my son. He asked me if I wanted to join them at the Circle Park, Huntridge Circle Park on South Maryland in Las Vegas. So I went down, and a lot of the younger kids were doing it. I mean, I think they were only 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, and they were serving soup and rice and beans, and it was for anyone who was hungry. You didn't have to be homeless. It couldn't be anyone. Even the politicians were welcome. So, so that's how I started. And then when I went down there, that was a big hangout for the homeless people. So I mostly got involved with the homeless people because I realized that food was not the only thing that they needed. They needed they needed clothing and a place to sleep, a safe place to stay. The winter they needed blankets and coats, and in the summertime they needed things and medical and birth certificates and so and also just to know that somebody cared about them. So that's what I ended up doing. I ended up becoming a homeless advocate. Back east.
I went homeless first time in January '07, and then I was out there for maybe April, May, and a friend of mine, I got no help here at all, from the social services, from anybody. Even the shelters. I mean, they're not shelters here, they're rehab center. It's a money game. But anyways, a friend of mine and a guy used to work for me, saw me on the streets, picked me up, took me to his house. I got cleaned up, got me a breakfast, and I went over to his job. I was in the car business here my whole life. And he got me a job with his company, and I worked there for 9 months instantly, just like that. It's a pretty long story what happened with me I was disabled, okay, but I walked in, I had my cane, I had my walker, and the shelters wouldn't help me because I had no addictions. I wasn't a drunk, I didn't use drugs, I wasn't a gambler. Well, I gambled, but I'm not addicted to gambling. I had financial problems, and I had medical problems. None of the shelters could help me. If I was a drunk or if I was a drug addict or whatever, they'd be glad to help me. And I've saw people lie, when I'm waiting to get in. They took care of them for 14 months. And I didn't want a handout. I just wanted help getting back on my feet. Anyways, so I ended up going to the social services, helped me for a little bit, a while. Then they cut me off, threw me back out on the streets. And in the meantime, it took 4 months to go to what do you call that, rehabilitation, occupational rehabilitation or whatever. 4 months I waited for that, and I did stay at the shelter down there, rescue mission, 1 month, or one night rather, and then I got the bus to go there, and the Charleston bus exchange, they're all different now, but it was 15 minutes late. So I go to my meeting that I waited 4 months for, and in the meantime I've gone through a lot of qualifying doctors, visits, and things to qualify for the program, which I did. So there's the expense of that. So I'm 15 minutes late. They told me I had to start all over again, wait to 4 months.
I got involved like about 1.5 years ago, but I know Gail, she's been doing it about 7 years here in town, where she just started feeding the homeless, and she was like a one-woman Food Not Bombs for years. She just would feed people on her own. She'd sometimes try to find them housing or get them help. And I only got involved 1.5 years ago, but there's been many people who have volunteered and helped. And they kind of just bring what they can, cook what they can. We receive donations from restaurants, markets, wherever will give us food. prepare it, and then bring it down to the park and share it. At this time, we're probably doing about 10 meals per week, and that's totally based on donations we receive. So in the past, it's only been this Sunday, 1 day a week, but right now we're receiving a pretty large donation from a farmer's market. So we're able to feed a lot more people, and we have about 4 or 5 cooks. And it's not always like that. It's kind of either feast or famine, literally. There's either not enough food or not enough volunteers, but right now we have plenty. In fact, we actually have to find a way to get the food to more homeless people. And so yeah, basically things are going good now. It's always volunteer. If people show up, then it happens. And Gail's pretty much been the one person who has been showing up every week for years now. So some of us come in and out of it. People who've served in other Food Not Bombs, they come to town and they help us for a while, then they go somewhere else. So it's basically the people that show up, you know, they make it happen and provide clothes, not just food, but clothes. Today, Scott, one of the volunteers, I think he fixed a homeless guy's bike. And so kind of whatever's needed, we pass out beanies and gloves now that it's starting to get cold. We try to send them away with food too. We make sandwiches, wrap them up, so they eat a hot meal and then they walk away with something to eat for later. And we basically do a lot of the things that kind of picks up on the slack from the social services and the things they don't receive from the system, because a lot of homeless people are very disappointed in the care they receive or the help. They often are not cared for. They fall through the cracks. They go for help and they're denied help. I know some of the guys have told me they receive government aid, but it's either enough for rent or food. It's not enough for both. So they have to choose. If they want to eat, then they can't have a place to stay. If they want a place to stay, then they're not likely going to eat very good. So that's where Food Not Bombs comes in and tries to provide meals for them to make up the difference.
Yeah, I was a math instructor for almost 3 years. I taught at Eastern Washington University. I was working on my master's. And that's when God called me, and I quit working for my master's after almost 2 years teaching. I was teaching Math 101 out there at Eastern Washington University, and then I taught for a year at a Christian school. And then God spoke to me. You know, He told me, you know, Babylon was going to be destroyed, and gave me a prophetic gifting to go out and preach and everything. And that's what I've been doing since about 2002. Been traveling. So I started in Spokane, Washington, and spent some time in Olympia and Seattle, and also went to LA, Venice Beach. And I've been here maybe about 5 years or so, 5-6 years now. So it's been a lot, arrested in every city I've been to. You know, so it's just like, you know, if you read about Apostle Paul and some of the ones that were really arrested and persecuted, I went through all that like they did too, same thing. Because the same spirit of Christ in me that was in them, you know, and a lot of what they were dealing with was fighting the rich too, because the rich are the ones that will jail you. It's talked about that in James chapter 2. It's the rich that oppress you and drag you before the judgment seats and blaspheme the worthy name by which you are called, right? And also in James it talks about, you know, don't show partiality with, you know, with the poor. You know, don't invite the rich man to your church and say, come and sit in the front chair, and then tell the poor man to sit in the back chair. You know, and that's exactly what's happening in not just the churches, but just in the whole world. You know, it's all about how much money can you give me, and if you have a lot of money to give me, you know, you can be right next to me. But not, if not, then get away from me. And you know, that's exactly where we're at today in the society. And I'm anti-capitalist so much. I mean, I love to see the destruction of capitalism and money altogether.
Oh, you will.
Yeah, that's what I'm praying for. On earth as in heaven. And in heaven we don't use money. I don't use money anymore. I haven't used money for quite a while now. And I don't want nothing to do with it. And you know, I'm a living proof that it's possible to live without money. Now I live outside, like I showed my friend here in my little blanket over there across the street. I've lived by faith for years. I haven't worked for money for years, right? And God provides. You know, the main thing is you just don't go sit on your tail, but you get involved in positive things, like you guys are doing, and God just brings things to you. You know, just like He brought you guys to me today, and I really needed some people to see that, to encourage me. Maybe I could encourage too. You know, it was neat because it was cold last night, like I said. I was just thawing out all morning, and I'm like, God, you gotta send some help, man. This is crazy.
Lifted up your head. Is that hot soup?
Yeah, but not just that, but I knew you. It wasn't just that there was soup here, but I remember you guys from the Occupy movement that I was working with them guys, and it was neat to see people that I actually knew that I've been wanting to see some of the Occupy people, because I kind of separated from them for right now, but you know, because I have different beliefs a little bit than them, but it was great to see you guys. You know what I mean? So. Yeah.
Good to see you too.
Yeah. It's cool.
In 2005 and 2006, and the city started giving us citations. There used to be a law that you could not gather 25 people without getting a permit from the city first. And we would not stop at 24 people and tell everybody to go away, you know, and plus I don't feel that way anyway. I mean, if I have food, I'm going to share it. So I ended up getting 2 citations for breaking that law, having more than 25 people at a gathering without getting a permit. This is in a public park, which we all should have the right to use the public park. So, and then at the time also, they would count people that weren't even with us, because the law was so ambiguous that it said that if there was more than 25 people that witnessed your event, then you were in violation of this law. So people could be walking their dog through the park, and the marshals, the city marshals, would count those people. Or if there were children playing hopscotch or something, they would count those people within the 25. So I got 2 citations for that, and then the city decided they were going to put another law into effect, which was that you could not share food with anyone who looked indigent, which that didn't pass the Constitution. But they actually put that, they made that new law. So once they did that, the ACLU came to our defense, and at the time, I was facing, for every ordinance that you break, you face a 6-month sentence, a 6 month in jail, and or a $1,000 fine. So by that time, I was facing a 1.5 years in jail and a $3,000 fine. So the ACLU got involved and sued the city, and so that lawsuit went on for a while, and we went to the federal court, and Judge Jones said that the last law that they put in about the indigent was unconstitutional, so they had to get rid of that. And then the other thing we took to the 9th District Court. And so the 9th District wanted us to discuss this and try to mediate and whatever with the city and try to come to some type of agreement so that we could, you know, get this over and done with without the courts. And so that's what we did. I didn't want to do it, but there were other people involved, so I kind of had to come to consensus, which I'm not too good at. But I had to come to consensus because there were other people involved. There was the Southern Nevada Advocates for Homeless People, and there was Catholic Worker, and Food Not Bombs, and myself personally. And so they worked it out so that they brought the figure from 25 up to 75 people can be in the park or at an event without getting a permit. And also, which for my homeless views, what was very important was the 86 law, which was when the marshals could kick homeless people out of the park for no reason at all, without due process. They used to line them up, like say against the block wall over there, take pictures of them, and then tell them, you're 86th from this park for 6 months. If we see you in here, you'll go to jail. And that's what they used to do. And they'd take them to jail, because there's big money in the jail business and the prison business. Good way to float that tax money around. So anyway, we came to an agreement that they couldn't do that anymore without due process of law. So that was a pretty good agreement that we came to. And I can't remember, oh, and the third thing that we came to an agreement with was that they had closed down one of the parks up in the northwest a little bit, and I can't remember the name of the park, but they changed it to children only. And so they came to an agreement that they would still have an area which was only for children, but that they would still open it up for a space where the adults could be also. So anyway, there was those three things. So I kind of got away from the legal end of it. I try to keep away from them.
You and Joe arrested?
We weren't arrested, no. Oh, well, my son has been arrested a few times for things like drawing food not bombs on the park concrete with children's washable chalk. And so they got him, they tried to get him like for a felony or a gross misdemeanor, whatever, for, tagging and graffiti and whatnot. But, so I don't know if they dropped the charges or what they did with that.
It's the delusion, it's delirious, they haven't ate, they haven't slept, they haven't had any rest, it's cold outside, it's hot outside. You have to remember, these people are not drunk, they're not high, they are not okay. Mentally, they're not okay. You're sleeping on the sidewalk outside and it's cold. You have nowhere to call home. Yeah. So, no, they're wandering around, but not because they're drunk or high, because they feel like they have no hope, no solution to an answer, so.
Those who are dead are not dead, they're just living in my head. And since I fell for that spell, I am living there as well. Oh, time is so short, and I'm sure there must be something more.
Days before Christmas, the LVMPD conducted raids on homeless people stealing blankets and winter shelter. The following post was written by Jonas Rand, a UNLV student and member of Food Not Bombs Las Vegas. It was originally posted at The World as Seen by Yusuf, a blog maintained by Jason Nellis under the title, "Take what you need and leave right now, raids target local homeless encampment." It details one of the sweeps that the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department conducted against homeless people at a local park that members of Food Not Bombs Las Vegas hold one of their weekly picnics, in which they share food with hungry people, including those who do not currently have permanent housing. During this sweep, the people within the park were only given 1 minute to gather their belongings before police threw them away. In particular, officers from the LVMPD stole blankets, tents, and other cold weather necessities from those people. In addition, at least one person, an elderly disabled woman, had her pet dog and sole companion stolen from her. This raid was carried out just before Christmas and during a time when Las Vegas is experiencing record low temperatures. Instead of allowing people a reasonable amount of time to remove their belongings or storing them for 30 days, as the law stipulates, Those possessions were simply thrown in a dumpster, without regard for the hardship it would create for those who were then without shelter from the cold. This sort of raid, as well as other types of harassment against and bullying of homeless and poor people by law enforcement in Las Vegas, is not an isolated or even unusual occurrence. Essentially, they seem to operate under the assumption that if they make life difficult for homeless people within the city, they will just go away. However, they obviously have nowhere to go or they wouldn't be homeless in the first place. Take what you need and leave right now, raids target local homeless encampment. According to several witnesses and former inhabitants, all of whom wish to remain anonymous, a raid by the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department (LVMPD) 2 weeks ago forcibly drove out a group of people camped in a local park consisting of over 24 individuals, dispersing them and discarding their belongings. For those who had been residing in East Las Vegas Molosky Family Park, located near the UNLV campus, December 8th seemed not unlike any other day. With little to shelter them from the windy winter weather, the park's street-dwelling residents fell asleep as night descended, expecting nothing new the next day. That all changed in the early hours of the following morning, when several witnesses say they were awakened to the sound of Metro officers raiding the park to forcibly disperse the park's homeless population. Perhaps as many as 40 people had been present in the park the previous night. Park residents report waking to a chaotic scene. They recalled having to move heavy loads of their belongings quickly, after being given only 60 seconds to remove their belongings, with those who failed to comply in time receiving citations. Those present in the park at the time of the December 9th raid said on Tuesday that the unanticipated police action involved the officers arriving while they were asleep. The police seized many of their personal belongings, including tents and blankets, which were seen being thrown in a dumpster, according to witnesses. We woke up and the police, the park maintenance people, they were driving around. They came in with the dumpsters, and they were taking everybody's stuff, throwing it in the dumpster, telling them take what you need and leave right now, one witness stated on Tuesday. They were taking everything there and throwing it in the trash. Park police and LVMPD officers were in the park on Tuesday from approximately 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., when one person was arrested on an outstanding warrant, and confirmed that an action to move on those who had taken up residence in the park was planned as early as December 1st. According to Metro's Sergeant Ryan Cook, the park was singled out for action at a meeting that day of the County Multi-Agency Response Team (CMART), a local police unit which includes multiple county agencies. LVMPD Sergeant Ryan Cook Sergeant Cook stated that the action was in response to people who take up residence in the park and diminish the quality of the park for everyone else who would like to utilize this park. The goal of the action, he said, was to link the individuals who are utilizing the park as their home, to Help of Southern Nevada, a local charitable organization which provides services for Las Vegas residents affected by homelessness or housing instability, to provide them with services, including housing in shelters or apartments, which he said had been prepared for at least some of the displaced individuals. Disappointment, conflicting narratives remain. Meanwhile, individuals who were awakened to the raid and who were also approached by police Tuesday reported that volunteers with Help of Southern Nevada were not present at the park at the time they were announced to be coming. A couple more police came. They said Help of Southern Nevada would be on their way, that they were going to be there, within 10 minutes, right where we were at. Then I went to the other side of the park. I came back and then they told us, oh, they're going to be on the opposite side of the park in 20 minutes, a previously quoted witness to the raid who was in the park at the time, said later on Tuesday. We went back to the other side to meet with them, and they never showed up. We waited about an hour. They never came, he said. That witness, alongside another witness to the raid who was also present for the police visit on Tuesday, also said that the police were there to inform them of a sweep planned for the next day by the park police, to clear out remaining residents. The former camp president reported that when policewoman's comments on Tuesday to those who had returned to the park brought up families visiting for the holidays as the reason that he and others had to leave, describing returning individuals as a deterrent. It was not immediately clear whether such a sweep happened. However, sources present the following morning saw no presence of police nor evidence of action to clear the park. While multiple former residents of the encampment had reported that there were several previous visits by police, none seemed to indicate that there was warning the previous day of what was to come. There were perhaps 5 prior visits, the witness previously quoted said, and that each time, people were told to leave. One head police officer was reported to have repeatedly said, "Not on my watch." One day before the raid, police came by and awakened everyone, according to another witness, who had lived in the park for approximately 2 years. She said that she had also been given misinformation, namely that the raid would occur on the 16th, a week after the raid, and that park police had raided 2 weeks ago. But at no time did they announce that they were intending to clear the encampment that Friday, and there was no indication that property would be seized. Sources also reported citations given to individuals who did not leave with their property fast enough, including a deaf resident whose belongings were seized and discarded. There's lots of people in that park that really need help, and they're not getting it. A lot of us, we're having hard times right now. Trying to get back on our feet, said one of the witnesses interviewed Tuesday. The same witness also reported that he knew of no one who was housed by Help of Southern Nevada as of yet, and that many would refuse to go to shelters. According to the former park resident, the group had only sent one representative once, to inform residents about their housing services. Among the reasons people have not been willing to accept housing options offered by Help of Southern Nevada are the presence of bedbugs and shelters as well as restrictions on pet ownership and available housing options. Police remain positive. Sergeant Cook expressed an unapologetically positive attitude about the police action. Cook, who works in the community-oriented policing section of Metro, commented that when we have individuals that utilize the playground equipment for sleeping places, and kids can't enjoy the slides, and things like that, is when park police and us get called, to try to help resolve the situation and get people to where they need to be. He brought up the services that Help of Southern Nevada provides, including a new triage center. Asked how he felt about the action, he said, "I think it's positive. I think it's positive that the park is being used for what it was actually initially designed for, which is recreation and entertainment for all the residents, not private living facilities." Still, however, not everyone is pleased. An additional onlooker who witnessed the raid, noting that displaced camp residents would simply relocate, said Monday, "They're not fixing the problem, they're just avoiding the problem,